This is Express Leads. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Express Leads. I'm your host, Paul Brady, and today we're going to talk about the best way to get leads for your business. Now, I know this is kind of an open-ended question, or so it might seem, but it's a question that a lot of people, especially people that are new to the online digital marketing space, people that are trying to get leads, they struggle with. So I'm just going to outline a few things I think that can be helpful. This is, by the way, in no way an exhaustive list or the only source for how you get leads. There are lots of ways to get leads for your business, but these are some of the best ways that I've used. I just would like to share with folks. So I think the best way to start is to talk about something you need to create in order to get leads. And in that case, we're talking about using marketing funnels to capture leads. So things like different software tools like ClickFunnels, GetResponse, ActiveCampaign, LeadPages, ThriveThemes, ThriveLeads. These are all types of tools you can use. But for those of you that are scratching your head and wondering, well, what is a marketing funnel? Well, a marketing funnel, if you think about it this way, it's a way that you can interact with a salesperson, except it's done digitally. That's an example I use a lot. So when you go to Sears, for instance, and you're walking around and you come up to a washer, you might have a salesperson approach you and say, hello, my name is so-and-so, can I help you? And you ask them questions about it. And it's kind of a conversation. They learn more about what your issues and your needs are. For instance, you might have a problem. The problem might be that your washer at home's broken. Well, obviously the solution to that problem is to get a new washer. So they learn that from talking to you and doing all these things. Now, in a marketing funnel, it's done the same way, but it's done digitally through a process where someone is taken through your funnel from the beginning to what at the end would end up being a sale. So in marketing terminology, that's referred to as AIDA. That's typically the structure of a funnel. So what does that mean? So AIDA refers to attention, interest, desire, and action. So attention generally is at the top, the widest part of your funnel. So if you imagine a wide funnel where you're pouring water down, it goes from the very top wide all the way to the small piece in the end. Now the small piece in the end would represent the sale or the action of some type. So let's talk about that. So the top of the funnel is awareness. And awareness represents things like, articles, advertisements, webinars, podcasts, maybe, paid search, landing pages, that kind of stuff, right? So people come in and they're told that, there's a certain pain point you're identifying for them. And by the way, people may not even realize that they have a pain point or there's a problem. Depending on what you're trying to do. I mean, the washer is an easy example, but there are other people that have more complex issues with business. And so it's your job to kind of show them and outline what those pain points might be. And so that's what attention does. It gets their attention. Now, the next part, as you're going further down the funnel, would be interest. And interest is, trying to get a customer's interest, getting them interested in what you're trying to do. And so something that might do that would be web content, social media, a blog, email campaigns, newsletters. So you want to do something that gets their interest. So you had their attention. That's the top of the funnel. Now you want to keep their attention and their interest. That is important because at any one of these stages, you could lose someone before you get to the sale. So they need something that's going to keep them there. And as we said, web content, newsletters, and social media and so forth are ways to engage and keep their interest. Then the next stage of the funnel, as we work our way further down, would be desire. So people have to have a desire to want to continue being engaged with you on some level, right? If they look at your blog or your email campaigns or your newsletters and they're terribly done or boring, then you're going to lose their interest right away, which of course destroys their desire. So customers that move from attention or what I was saying earlier, recognition of some sort of a problem then move on to desire. Now they have a desire for a solution. Now you've got their attention, they're interested, but they want a solution to their problem. And so they are evaluating things that get them through this problem into an action of some sort. So desire can be things like identified as things that you might produce as white papers, ebooks, maybe brochures, or even smaller microsites, that kind of thing. And then once you get them through the attention, interest, and desire, now you're at the bottom of the funnel where the sale happens, or it's called action, right? So you move from attention to interest to desire to action, AIDA. Now in action, they're going to make a purchase decision. So when they get to this point of the funnel, they want to look at things like, in some of your examples you may show them at this stage of the funnel could be case studies of successful things that you've done, maybe e-learning of some type, testimonials. Testimonials are another vital piece because there's social proof. And with social proof, you have clients that see other clients, or prospects rather, that see other clients. And they say, oh, here's this, list of 15 people who gave video or written testimonials on how much they love this service or this product. And so that's powerful. People will look at that, and a lot of times if they're on the edge, when they get to the action stage of the funnel or the sale, that will push someone over the edge. So AIDA, just quickly, those are kind of important things. And we'll get into the tools I mentioned in a little bit further on. But so let's look at a second piece. Now that we've talked about a marketing funnel, let's talk about some specific things that we can do that include and perhaps maybe don't include marketing funnels, but they all end up in the same place. One thing is offer incentives to people, right? So if someone comes to your funnel, how do you get them to give you that? I know I use some examples of things you could do at various stages, but if someone comes to a funnel and you want a very simple funnel, right? You want their email. That's all you're asking for. You have to offer them an incentive. You have to offer them something of value. So for instance, you might create a lead magnet, and that's, an offer that is free to the customer, but obviously valuable for your business. So you offer someone a lead magnet that is, relevant to the information they're interested in. So if you're advertising, for instance, to an audience, or you're talking about something in social media to an audience that is specifically interested in, let's say real estate, okay? And then you're offering them a free list of, houses in your target area that are for sale that meet certain criteria that you're very interested in. Let's say, for instance, you're a veteran. So you want houses that would meet the requirements of a VA loan, for instance, or something like that. So you want an incentive to get in there. If you're another niche might be the make money online niche, right? If you're in the make money online niche, then obviously an incentive will be a free ebook on how to make money using Google Ads. The top 7 strategies to use Google Ads to make money. Now that would be free. So you're giving something valuable to get something valuable. Giving them this free ebook, and you're getting their email. And then what happens is they go into your ecosystem. And you can start, emailing them stuff on a regular basis with different offers or different value. Again, it's a mixture. You don't want to just keep spamming people with sales opportunities. You want to give them something of value, just like you did when you offered them the incentive. Something else you can do also is join LinkedIn or, for instance, Facebook groups that are related to your niche and engage with people there. I personally have done that, and it works really well. I've gone into Facebook groups, and literally in less than 20 minutes, I reached out, and all I did was add value. I didn't advertise my business. I didn't say, hey, hit me up here, do that. I just said, someone asked a question, I answered it. That's powerful. There's a lot of people out there, and every day they come in and they don't know the answers to certain basic things that you are probably, as a marketer, let's say if you're listening to this, you're a marketer, you're a pro at. Or it's something else that you're a pro at. Let's say, you're a plumber and someone's looking for help with a minor issue with a sink, you could go in and help them. And then they may look at that and say, this guy's great. Hey, are you in my area? Because I have some more work I'd like done. I'd like to add an outside faucet, and I'd like to put a new toilet in, and so on, right? So those are ways that you engage with people. So you engage, you provide value for free. And I did that, and I got a job for one client, $1,400. Started out as just helping them. And they literally texted me back and on Facebook privately and said, you seem like you know a lot about this. Are you interested in talking more about it? And I said, absolutely. I gave them my contact information. We met on Zoom. And before you know it, I had a client. It's that simple. But it takes, action on your part. Similar in LinkedIn. LinkedIn, like Facebook, has different areas that are, like groups that you can go into and engage people there as well. And so that leads us to the next area that's helpful, which would be Google Ads, right? So you can use Google Ads to bring more targeted visitors to your site or to your landing page, let's say, okay? Now you have to be careful with Google Ads because you can't just drive someone from a Google ad to, let's say, an affiliate offer. If you're a make money online, if you're in that niche, you can't do that. Google will ban you. Facebook will ban you as well. So there are different things you have to do, and the rules are slightly different between Google and Facebook. I'm familiar with all that stuff, but you can Google it. No pun intended. You can search for it on YouTube to get more details, or Google it and get more details, because there's a lot of information out there about their restrictions. So just be careful with that. But other than saying that, you can use Google Ads to target people to come to a site. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I use something called ThriveThemes, and it allows me to create an opt-in in the middle of any page on my WordPress website. So it's a WordPress plugin, but on a WordPress website, WordPress blog, anything like that. And I did this for a client that is an economic nonprofit. So it's not like a make money online or a really popular niche, but I was able to do it, and I was able to get people consistently opting in. And I think at this point now, I've been running for a few months for this client, and I've got almost 700 email addresses, 700 people on his email list, just asking about universal health care, and the different niches he has in his business. It involves economics, but it talks about how you can change economics to provide those things. So it works. It definitely works. You can get people doing that. And so if you don't have an audience, a Google ad is a great way if you're starting out to do that. Another way would be solo ads. And I'm going to kind of throw that in there with the Google Ads thing, although they're not the same thing at all. They're totally different in the respect that you're still paying to get your ad or your message in front of people. But instead of paying Google, you're usually paying someone like Udemy. UDIMI is the one website that does it. But you can also go to Facebook groups and look for solo ad providers and testimonials. And when you're in the Facebook group, for that, you'll see people that rate people that actually rent their mailing list. So that's all a solo ad is someone rents a large mailing list. So let's say in Udemy someone has a list of 50,000 people, and it's specific to the make money online niche, or it's specific to the real estate niche, or it's specific to whatever your niche is, right? And you look for that, and you pay them. And oftentimes, if you're new, oftentimes they'll even do the ads for you, and that sometimes they prefer to, but you usually have the option of doing it yourself as well. And what happens is that goes out in front of an audience that is specifically interested in what you're doing. So with Facebook, if you think about it, you're doing ads, but those ads aren't necessarily getting to an audience that is 100% focused on what you want. Whereas a solo ad is always 100% focused on what you want. So solo ads are great for people that are new in marketing, especially lead generation. And you can get leads. They guarantee you a certain number as part of the solo ad. I've used it before. I did one ad. It was really quick. I think I was guaranteed, I think mine was... I think 500. Yeah, I think it was 2 200 or 300 and I got 350. It was like 50 above, so they over delivered. I mean, it's really great. And, you can play with different solo ad providers too, which is, by the way, the reason why I say you should go back to Facebook groups and look at the testimonials for solo ad providers, because you can, just like anything else, you can get a person that isn't great at what they do, in which case they'll give you lots of emails, but they could be spam bots. They might not work. So there are strategies around that. But in essence, it's still a great way for someone new to start. You just have to be careful and do a little research. But I've used it and it works great. So since we're on the subject of Google, another way to get leads for your business is to, especially if you're a local brick and mortar business, is to set up and optimize a Google My Business profile with keywords that are relevant to your business and location. So if you go out to Google My Business, and you can just search it on Google, just say Google My Business, and it'll give you the right link to get to it. If you don't have something set up, you can set something up in there. And what that does is it will then show your business when you're optimized in that, what they call that snack pack or that 3-pack. So when you do a search for something that is location specific, like realtors in Worcester or realtors near me, you're going to see a little 3-pack of 3 different businesses as well as the organic listings. That little 3-pack is the Google My Business snack pack. That's what they call it. Now I work with a client that was a dog walker, had never done anything online, didn't have a website, didn't do anything. So I designed her website. I set her up on Google My Business. I set her up for the right keywords, and we did all the work required to get that stuff going. And she went from, she's about 2.5, 3 years in now. She went from $200 a month to over $5,000 a month recurring income. And I still work with that business, and it's been a success. But getting Google My Business to do that is a huge part of it. And a lot of times, when you screen those calls that are coming in that are leads, say, so how'd you hear about us? Oh, Google. How'd you hear about us? Google. How'd you hear about us? Oh, it was Google. I did a Google search. So it does work. And if you're a local business, that's a very strong thing. I strongly recommend that. It's a very strong play. So talking a lot, by the way, about how the best ways to get leads for your business. Well, getting leads for your business really means getting, and I've said it a number of times so far in this podcast, but it really means getting an email list. It's building one, right? So when you build an email list, there's a mistake people make a lot. So they build an email list and then they don't send emails out on a regular basis, or they don't send them out in some cases at all. And the problem with marketing your business, and it's one of the number one issues out there, is consistency. If you're not consistent with doing your podcast, or if you're not consistent with sending out your newsletter, or you're not consistent with sending out like an emailing list, or doing a YouTube video, whatever it is that you want to do on a regular basis, you don't have to do all those things. But whatever it is you do on a regular basis, you need to do that consistently, or people just lose interest. Like someone may stumble upon your podcast and say, oh, I really like this. But if they don't see you do a podcast for like a month, then they're going to be like, well, when's this person put a podcast out? Or if you're on social media and you haven't posted on Twitter in a month, then people are going to stop. They're not going to be interested. It's all about engagement. You want to engage people. And the way you engage them is content. So that's another piece I just want to mention out there. Just make sure you're consistent and you send those emails out to your list. And speaking of that, the other thing you want to do is also be active on social media channels. Again, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube and others, right? So again, you just want to be consistent in how you're posting things out there. And it's not just posting. You just don't, again, like anything else, you don't want to just, like the email list I talked about earlier, you just don't want to spam people with your offers on Twitter or Facebook. You want to provide, value. So if you have a blog, this is where you can do some cross-pollinate between social media channels, is what I like to call it, right? So if you have a blog and you're writing that, then you want to post links to your blog on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if that, or links to your YouTube, or links to your podcast, or links to whatever it is you're doing, right? And that's the kind of thing you do on a regular basis, and that gets people interested and wanting to continue to follow you and get to learn more about your brand, and eventually they will see the occasional posts about your offers and services and products and whatever it is you do, and that will turn into sales. So important. The other thing is you want to create a professional website if you can. And I say this because sometimes people do a lot of this stuff right. You'll see if you're imagining a checklist, right, and you're sitting there and people are checking things off, you can say, okay, they do YouTube videos regularly. They talk about their products and services and YouTube videos on social media channels. They send out emails off, and they do all those things well. But then someone clicks on a link in one of those things and says, oh, I'm going to go check this guy out. And they go look on, maybe it's the link to your site's right in your messages, which again, it should be. But then look at your site and it's terrible. And I had that experience recently. I saw someone that I liked their YouTube video. I thought their stuff looked pretty good. I was kind of interested. So I clicked on his website, and it was so bad that it really turned me off, and it really detracts. It really, detracts from credibility for that brand, that person, their product, their service, whatever it is. That's just sometimes. So if you're going to do something, make sure you have a nicely well-designed website. And the other thing is, and we talked about this earlier because we mentioned blogs and things like that. So if you have a website, then you want to create a blog. Now, you don't need to necessarily have a website to do that, but if you're trying to drive traffic to get people to recognize your brand and understand your services and offers, you're better off having your own blog than you are doing it, an entire blog for your business somewhere else. But having said that, there is a lot of power in writing guest posts on other blogs. And again, one does not exclude the other, right? I mean, you can have your own blog, but also write guest posts. And why would you do that? If you had your own blog, what would be the point of writing a guest post on another blog? Well, the reason is that if you're writing a guest post that's related to your industry on another blog, you do that so that you can target potential clients through their audience and also increase the number of backlinks and so forth coming back to your website. Because when you're on a guest, when you're doing a guest blog post, and let's say it's on someone that, and you'd want to target people like this, someone has a very large following, a very big, number of people on their blog, right? You'd want to do that, do a guest post, talk with them, and then have a link back to your site. So you're getting traffic, you're driving traffic. That's what that's called, backlinks. You're driving them back to your blog. And also you're just getting a bigger audience. That's like doing your own podcast too, right? Like I'm doing, but doing a guest podcast. Well, why would you do that? Same reason. There are some podcasts that get, 100 to 50 to 100,000 downloads a month, right? No one's going to get that in the beginning, but if people get to learn more about you because you appear on guest podcasts somewhere, then you may end up getting, adding more traffic to yours as a result, and more downloads to your podcast as a result. So switching gears for a second, another thing that I think is really a great way to get leads for your business is, joining a networking group that's related to your industry in some way. So for instance, BNI is a very popular networking group that meets in person. It's called Business Network International, is what the acronym stands for, but everyone pretty much knows it as BNI. As a matter of fact, I had to look it up because I've known it so long as BNI, I couldn't even remember what the acronym stood for. But basically, BNI is a great way to meet other businesses, and what the idea is that it's a networking group. So you're meeting in person once a week, and businesses exchange leads with each other. If you're a carpenter or a painter or a general contractor, and you have a realtor in the group, which is almost always the case that you have those two seats, you might have a realtor say, hey, I've got a client that's selling a house, but he needs his deck redone, and he needs an edition completed and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of work that can go back and forth. And it works for almost any niche. I've been in a smaller type of networking group for years. Now, BNI can be somewhat pricey, so you can spend, I think, over $1,000 for 2 years if you sign up. But there's certainly others out there that are a lot cheaper than that aren't quote unquote BNIs, but they're like they're still networking groups. I like to call them BNI Light. So I've been a member of. I visited BNIs. I've seen that, and again, very powerful. But I've also been a member of smaller groups. And now the smaller groups are probably harder to find because BNI is huge and they're everywhere, but they're not impossible to find. So if you go out to something like MeetUp.com or something like that, you can have, you can basically go in there and find on MeetUp.com networking groups in your area, and you can reach out to them through MeetUp and join them. As a matter of fact, I'm the president of my networking group, and I use MeetUp to get people to join the group. So I put messages out there about our meetups and with that specifically in mind. And I've probably gotten, over the last couple of years, I've gotten at least 10 people to visit and at least 7 to join. So it does work, but it's a good way for someone who's looking for something to join to use. So I will look into that. So getting back to what we said earlier, I told you I was going to circle back on some of these tools. When I said use marketing funnels to capture leads, I mentioned ClickFunnels and GetResponse and ActiveCampaign, LeadPages, and ThriveLeads and ThriveThemes. That's really another way to get leads for your business, is to invest in lead generation software like those packages. And they help you generate leads with targeted marketing campaigns and whatnot. So just to give you a quick example, I myself use ClickFunnels, I use a mixture of all these for different clients I work with, but I use ClickFunnels, GetResponse, and ActiveCampaign. My favorite, I think the best, obviously ClickFunnels designs beautiful landing pages with ease. And you can even use templates they have pre-set up for you, so you don't have to have any design sense at all, anything like that. Because ClickFunnels is a powerful piece of software, you can integrate it with a number of things like GetResponse, ActiveCampaign, and stuff like that. Or you can buy I think they call it the ClickFunnels Platinum plan, so that you can just use ClickFunnels alone. You don't need to use anything else. But I actually, I do have the Platinum plan for myself, but I recommend to people that work with me to get the regular plan, ClickFunnels plan, and then integrate GetResponse, because GetResponse is just such an excellent email. You can just create some unbelievable automation workflows with GetResponse. Did someone open my email? Did they not open it? Did someone click the link in my email? Did they not click it? If they didn't click it, send them this email. If they did click it, send them this email. If they didn't open it, send them this email after a while. So there's all these rules and things you can create in GetResponse that just are phenomenal. You can do it in ClickFunnels too, but in my opinion, the email interface is a little clunky when it comes to that level of precision for the email campaigns. And again, you can do it. So there is an argument to be made that maybe ClickFunnels Platinum makes more sense for you, because it does have almost unlimited lists, which is when you get to a certain number of people on your email list, you may want to switch to Platinum because it'll probably save you a lot of money. Because GetResponse, almost everyone else across the board in the industry, GetResponse, ActiveCampaign, they charge you per the number of people you have on your list. But in the beginning, when you're starting out, ClickFunnels with GetResponse is an excellent combination. And again, if you're going to make marketing funnels, which is the first thing we started talking about, you want to make marketing funnels that look great. There's nothing worse than coming to a landing page that looks like it was designed, terribly. Again, it kind of hurts your credibility. You don't like it, but ClickFunnels, it's great in that respect. And GetResponse is also great too in how it works and gets you those emails. So once you get those emails and you build that list, that's where all these other factors come in, where you're sending out regular emails to people to inform them about your latest blog, your latest YouTube video, something that is of value to your clients. So if you're a plumber, for instance, I could see you having a whole YouTube channel on how to do these do-it-yourself home projects. Those are super, super popular on YouTube. And I've talked to plumbers, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll say, why would I want to tell someone how to do something that I could do myself and get paid? It's like, well, because as a plumber, you want to get people interested in your business. There are a lot of people that love those videos, but of the people that love those videos, a lot of them don't do that, which is the funny thing about it. A lot of people watch those do-it-yourself things where you're doing memory in your computer, or how to put in your own memory in your Mac or your PC, or how to fix an outside faucet by replacing a gasket and doing these other things, or how to set up your own wall board and put up and frame a room, that kind of stuff. I mean, different people can be shown how to do that, and a lot of people are interested in it, but in the end, they're still going to ask for help. And the argument can be made too that even if they didn't ask for help and they used your help to do these small projects, when they have a bigger project, they're going to want to talk to who? You. They're going to want to talk to the guy whose social media has been helping them out with all these small projects over the past year or so, or 2 months, or however long you've been looking at it, right? So I think that's important. That's a big part of lead generation, is getting the right tools in order to get your information out in front of those people, right? So ClickFunnels, GetResponse, I have links for that stuff. The tools I've been talking about, I have links for that stuff in my description. Full disclosure, some of them are things that I have an affiliate relationship with, but I never recommend anything that I don't use myself, and that I don't actively use myself, and that I don't trust and like. So there are lots and lots and lots of things I could recommend and make affiliate money from, but I'm not going to, because I don't use those tools. So these are the tools that are the best tools, in my opinion, for a lot of this stuff. So and I'm talking about for small businesses. Larger businesses might want to invest in something like HubSpot or Marketo or something like that. All very good packages as well. But anyone could do this. Anyone that make money online, niche is small, plumber, or real estate agent, people that have their, do their own businesses, they could all do this. So, another thing too is, before we wrap up, 2 other things real quickly. One is, a good way to get leads for your business is to attend network events and trade shows where, you have an active presence at the trade show. And I'll tell you a funny story, because I did that with my wife. My wife owns a dog business. We talked about it earlier. And she doesn't know anything about marketing or marketing funnels or SEO or any of that stuff. So I'd set all this stuff up for her business. But we went to a home show, and we shared a booth with someone. So it wasn't super expensive. So we thought, well, we'll try it. I don't know how much good it'll do, but people looking at homes, they probably have pets, right? I mean, anyone could have a dog or a cat, right? So we thought, why not? We'll try it. Well, unbelievable as it may sound, we're sitting at the dog show, and we were completely surprised that people were walking around in this home show with dogs, like on leashes. I couldn't believe it. It's not something you ever expect to see. So it was just this great, accident that we were there. Now, we thought we'd get interest anyways, and we were right. But not only did we get interest, but we had people that were, with their dogs, walking around their dogs. So there are events like that. And also there are more specific events, So for instance, I'll use the dog business again. We went to a specific event that was geared towards, pets. So dogs, cats, you name it, right? And it was a popular local event that we go to every year. It was called the Pet Rock Festival. And we set a booth up with my wife. Didn't spend a lot of money. Bought a table at Staples. Bought one of those little tent things that you set up with 4 poles, and cost maybe $30, $40. And I printed out flyers before we went, and we had a sign-up sheet. And, just handed out business cards to people. And we had free treats that we gave, free pet food treats. So there were tons of dogs that got tons of treats from us, and it was great. We got names on our list, we got interaction with people, and they're all in your local area because it's a local event. So networking events in your local area, if you're whether you run a local business or not, even let's say if you're a marketing person or someone that designs websites and you're looking for stuff, you can still go to any of those things and work with people. It's just a matter of how you work the show, right? I mean, I walked around the trade show talking to people about web design, talking to them about marketing and all that kind of stuff. And whereas my wife just stayed at the booth and handed out things for the pet people that were walking by with treats and everything else. So it was awesome. And my last piece here, again, to round this all out on best ways to get leads for your business, is probably one of the most important things of anything I've mentioned up to this point, and that is act. You have to act. People sometimes, and I know them, and I have that tendency in my personality sometimes too, and you have to mitigate that with ways that you can avoid it. But there are people that will learn everything they can about things, and they're fascinated. They'll jump in, they'll do things, they'll buy books, they'll go to seminars, they'll get online courses, they'll do all these things, right, for their business, but they won't act. They won't pull the trigger. They won't do things that need to happen. And some of that is fear, right? I think fear is a powerful emotion, and sometimes I think that it interferes with things. Like, well, if I do this, how do I know I'm not going to waste my time with ClickFunnels and I'll lose a bunch of money? Or how do I know that my Google ads are going to work? Or how do I know that when I do this, I'm not going to get, lose money on this? Or how do I create a lead magnet? I'm not a designer. That just seems impossible. Don't let fear stop you, okay? Even if you don't know how to do anything as far as creating your own website, creating your own logos, doing any of those things, there's places like Fiverr.com and Upwork.com. There are places you can go to get people to do things fairly cheap for you. Set up an online store for you. It doesn't cost a lot of money if you find someone like that, if your requirements are simple. So don't let fear stop you. And the other huge issue I see with people is they'll set up a marketing funnel to get a Google ad going or a Facebook ad or a solo ad, and they're driving traffic. That's the reason, right? That's the reason you do Google ads, Facebook ads, solo ads. You're driving traffic to your marketing funnel that you've set up with ClickFunnels, let's say, right? Or to your website. Marketing funnel is better to drive traffic to because it's specific, has less distractions than a website, but you're driving the traffic, okay? And it doesn't work. The first time you do it, it doesn't work. You get like maybe one opt-in to your emailing list and they don't answer you. They've ghosted you. You're like, well, geez, I spent $300 on this Google ad or Facebook ad campaign. What a waste of money. I mean, they just give up. They just don't do it. Say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, it's not that simple. If something doesn't work, then I can tell you as a professional writer and someone that's done some copywriting, then you just have to tweak your words. You have to get people interested, right? You have to get them to want to know what's going on in your business and why your offer is going to help that pain point for them. So, seek out a professional, get help with your ad because that's very important. You want people to come in. And then, by the way, your ad can't be wildly different than your landing page that you create in ClickFunnels, right? It has to have some similar language, at least maybe if you're using a graphic in your ad, maybe use the same graphic in your landing page. That kind of stuff is important too because people will come in and say, well, why is this so completely different? I don't want this. And let me give you a quick example. Because when you do an email list, it's the same thing, right? When you're sending out an email campaign, a 7-day email campaign to people, and you're going, why are people opening my emails? How come they only open one? How come the open rate on this one's 60%? The open rate on this one's like 2%, right? So the industry standard is actually pretty low. It's between 2 and 3% or something. But most of my email campaigns, and I'll give the economic nonprofit as an example, the open rate on a lot of those tends to be pretty high. So the average open rate's pretty high. But I had one that was close to 60%. And the reason is because of what? What do people see when they look at an email? What's the first thing they see? They see the subject line, right? So if people aren't opening your emails, just like with a marketing funnel, if they're not giving you their email address or opting in, then look at the wording you're using. Maybe it's just not grabbing their attention, right? Remember the marketing funnel: awareness, interest, desire, and action, right? Are you answering something that's a pain point for them? Is it interesting enough for them? Do you have a desire to move forward? So those are all things you keep in the back of your head. So with the email, I had as an example, I had one subject line that said, let me tell you about the time I completely bombed a job interview, ... That had huge interaction. Like 60% of the people open that up. And why? Because of our society, right? People look at it, and by the way, it's a true story. I'm not just making stuff up to do marketing stuff. It's totally a true story, what I wrote in that. I felt like I totally bombed this job interview. I went in and was expecting one thing and was completely sideswiped with a completely different offer. I thought it was a for-profit job that dealt with something to do with the financial industry, and then suddenly it was, hey, let's do this. Let's talk about this nonprofit work. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? I was totally lost. But that subject line got so many people clicking on it. Now, each thing is a step, right? So first, your ad has to get them to give you an email. Then when you get their email, you send them emails. The subject lines have to get their attention. They have to want to click on and open the email when they see that. And then once they open the email, the content of the email has to be interesting. See where I'm going? So you have to create stuff that's engaging. And it's not a process that, no one, Gary Cardone, Russell Brunson, Dave Kennedy, a lot of these guys, right? They don't just create gold every time they write an email. They do things, right? Anthony Morrison, a lot of these other big guys, right? They don't do that. They don't just write something and it just works the first time. That never happens. So, and they'll be the first to tell you. I mean, Russell Brunson had a whole video about how he had a 60-person sales force, and it was the worst experience of his life. He ended up finally, closing the whole thing and switching to funnels. But then he realized that, pretty quickly, that with funnels, you either get their attention or you don't. And he says that it's like, throwing spaghetti in a wall, right? You're not always going to work, but the goal is to not give up, right? So 2 things: don't let fear stop you, and don't give up. If you give up too soon, you might be the person that, I don't know if you know that graphic, but there's a graphic of a guy that's digging for gold or something, and it shows the one guy that had given up and the other guy that had gotten through to the gold, right? Well, the guy that had given up was 3 inches from the gold. He just gave up. He gave up too soon. You have to keep trying. You have to keep tweaking your words. And by the way, maybe even tweaking your headlines, tweaking your subject lines, tweaking your images. There are a lot of things that turn people off in ads. And the only way you know what works is to do an ad in Facebook or Google, send out emails, is basically to act. If you act, you're going to get data. And when you have data, you have analytics. And when you have analytics, you can look to see what's resonating and what isn't resonating with people that you work with. So, stuff like that is really, really important. So don't forget, just act. I'm going to make a t-shirt. I'm going to make a t-shirt, but if I just say just act, it's going to be so corny. So I'm going to have to think of something better. But basically, that's the idea. Act. Don't let fear stop you, and don't give up too soon. So again, thank you for listening to my podcast. I hope this has been helpful. My name is Paul Brady, and links to these tools will be in the description of the podcast. And you can always reach out to me, marketing at bradyconsult.com, or you can go to my website and contact me through there as well, www.bradyconsult.com. And feel free to leave a voice message on my Anchor podcast as well, anchor.fm/express leads. Thank you. This has been Express Leads, hosted by Paul Brady of Brady Consulting and Inbound Marketing. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave us a voice message by visiting anchor.fm/expressleads. Thank you.